But we all have these different moments in time, don't we? We have really fun moments where great things happen, and then we can have challenging moments, and then we can have moments that we would like to erase in our life. Anyone got any of those moments? It's like, let's press the erase button, yes. Annalie was telling me a couple of weeks ago how she was telling some of her friends about how 2 out of our 3 children, we've got 3 kids, we have Nathan, he's 19, Annalia, she is 17, and Jaden, he's about to turn 14 in a couple of months. She was telling a couple of her friends how we managed to, with 2 out of our 3 children, somehow they managed to nearly OD drinking medicine straight out of a medicine bottle, right? This wasn't at the same time, okay? These were 2 different incidents, years apart from one another, but it was kind of one of those parenting fail moments, twice, right? So it's confession time for me. And I said to her, did you explain how they happened? The first time it was because, one of you had been away for the night because I was giving birth to another child, so there'd been medicine packed in the overnight bag, and the overnight bag had come back home to us, and we didn't know it was in there, and one of them got it out to feed Teddy one morning. It was very nice, feeding Teddy some medicine on the child-proof cap, which I can't remove, but my kids can at the age of 2 and 3. Anyway, so they fed Teddy and then they fed themselves. That wasn't a great moment of parenting, and we did what all good parents do. We rang the poisons line, where we got put on hold for 10 minutes. So we were well, not so helpful really in that moment. And then the other instant was we'd been up in the middle of the night, as you do as parents, and we'd been giving one of our other children Pamol, and put the lid back on, put it up on the bench, and then the next morning, first thing in the morning, one of our other children climbed up onto the bench, took down the bottle, unscrewed the child safety lid, and managed to actually down a lot of that bottle. So that one ended up, Pete took them to the hospital, and thankfully they emptied their contents of the Pamol from their stomach in the car park at the hospital. And then they had a lovely day playing with the play therapist there in hospital, blowing bubbles and having a wonderful time. And Peter was like, this isn't really what we want to teach them, drink the medicine, have a happy time with the play therapist. But anyway, so our children survived, okay? So sometimes that's why I say, we've made it, people. So, but we all have these moments in time which perhaps we would like to erase. And in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, it tells us how there is a season for everything, for every purpose under the sun. There is a season, there is a moment in time for every purpose. To be born, to die, to plant, to uproot, to heal, to break down. There's moments that we have in our lives. Some moments feel incredibly slow. Waiting in the dentist office is very slow, right? Very slow. Other moments go really fast, like maybe that holiday you've been planning for months. It goes like that. Honestly, it's so fast. It's like you're here one day, you're enjoying your holiday, and then it's over. But yet, who knows that all the grains of sand going through our sand timers of life, they're all moving at the same pace. Even though some moments feel like they're incredibly fast and others feel like they're taking forever. Hebrews 3 verse 13 says, "But encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened." Growing up in my era, there was a song by Stephen Curtis Chapman. Stephen Curtis Chapman. I love Stephen Curtis Chapman. Not that many. That's a bit depressing. Okay, good. Thank you. It's making me feel better. Thank you. I see those hands. So the song by Stephen Curtis Chapman, and it was called Still Called Today. And I love that song, and I'd listen to it a lot. And when I read that verse, I thought about that song, while it's still called today. And he talks about having those conversations while it's still called today. He talks about forgiving. He talks about doing the things that we can do while it's still called today. And today is a very powerful thing. We were at Life Conference a couple of weeks ago, and they talked there a lot about the here now, about living in the here now. Because sometimes we can want to live in yesterday, right? Some people do live in yesterday, like the good old days. Oh, I remember the good old days, and we do blah, 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 right? But who knows, actually, yesterday it's been and gone. Like it's over. Like we can't influence the things that happened yesterday. And in the same way, sometimes we like to live in tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow things will get better. Oh, tomorrow I'll make that phone call. Tomorrow I'll have that conversation. Tomorrow I'll make that appointment. Tomorrow I'll try for that promotion. Tomorrow I'll sort that thing out with my child. But tomorrow it doesn't come. It's always tomorrow. And it's so important that we live really well in our today, because our tomorrows depend on what we do today. How well our tomorrows will be very much rests on what we are doing today. And if we don't do our today well, our tomorrow is not going to look so good. It says, but encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today. There are things that we can do today which hold great weight and bearing on how our tomorrows will be. There are many who will live in the vision of tomorrow but not put down roots in today, which actually builds a solid foundation for tomorrow. For our relationships, and those who are parents here this morning, your relationship with your children in 5 years and 10 years' time very much depends on what you are putting into your relationship today. It's so important. We must value what we are doing today. And sometimes there are things we do over and over and over again, and it feels so repetitive, yet it's so important. So to live our lives well while it's still called today, there's 3 things that I want us to look at today. And the first point this morning is value the moments of preparation. Value the moments of preparation. It's the ordinary moments now which prepare us for the extraordinary moments ahead. Who knows that each grain of sand as it falls through, especially these grains of sand, because they're like pretty ones, they're like made to be pink or blue or white or whatever. But all the grains of sand, when we look at them, they all look quite similar, don't they? They're a similar colour, they're a similar size, similar shape, similar sparkle. But actually, when you look at real grains of sand that have been honed from rocks, every piece is completely different. Every piece is unique and a slightly different shade and a different colour. And it's the same for us with the moments that we have in our todays. Sometimes the things that we're doing seem so mundane. They just seem like we did this yesterday and it doesn't really matter. But actually, every moment that we have is unique, and it is preparing things for the future. Perhaps for you, it might just seem like turning up to work on time. It's not a big deal. But actually, you turning up on time, it's building layers of character and integrity into your life and saying something to your boss, which is so important. The reading of another bedtime story and talking about the day with your child is building something so foundational into your relationship with them. The taking time to listen to that workmate over lunch is connecting with someone that who knows how you will need to be there for them in their future. Don't ever underestimate the ordinary in your today. In January, our eldest son, as many of you know, Nathan, he left home for the first time. He was 18, and I hadn't envisaged that one day my 18-year-old would leave home, even though Peter would often say, hey kids, one day you'll be 18 and then you can leave home. Seriously. I was like, don't say that. They might do that. It's good to leave some time, right? It's good. My daughter's only 17. You're not leaving home next year. But anyway, she knows that. So, had that discussion. So, stop it. Anyway, so he left home at 18. And something struck me, that weekend he was leaving home. It was really hard, as the mums in the room will understand who've been here. It's like, I was trying to explain it to Peter, because, Nathan, he came in and he said, oh, Mum, I've taken all the posters off my wall. I'm like, why did you do that? That's your bedroom, tears. And Peter's like, oh, she's crying, and he's not even left the house yet. Seriously, it's going to be a long week. Anyway, so I'm crying. I said to Peter, but it's kind of like, my life, I wanted to be a mum, and then I get to be a mum, and then I have these 3 lovely children, and then it's like one of them's disappearing. And I know I'm still mum, but it's like there's this part of me that's going to Christchurch. And I didn't really know Christchurch, but that's where a part of me was going to. And it was hard to kind of put into words to explain it, but it was quite a thing to walk through. And the thing, though, that I was exceptionally glad about as he was leaving was that we'd always said, even from the time our kids were really little, we said, one day we are going to unleash our children onto this world, and we pray that they're going to be ready. We pray they're going to be awesome young adults. No pressure. We pray they're going to be awesome young adults, and they're going to love God, and they're just going to do okay because we've done the hard yards from the time they were young. You know, when they were little, there were the boundaries in place, and we've managed to let go as they've gotten older. And it was in that moment that I thought, I'm so glad that we've done the things that we did. We had the end goal in mind when we taught him to do chores. Now I was glad because he's now flatting with 4 other people, and he needs to do his chores. You know, otherwise people won't want to flat with him, right? It's important things. We had the end goal in mind when we taught him to look someone in the eye and shake their hand and to introduce himself, which might seem like a really small thing, but as a kid, he was really shy. He would cling onto my leg and not want to look at people. And Peter was like, no, he is not going to be the shy kid that, we go, oh, he's just shy. So we'd make him shake people's hand and introduce himself. Well, now he'll introduce himself to anybody. In fact, the people in Christchurch said, in his new church, said, wow, you know more people in this church than I do, and you've only been here 2 weeks, it happened fast. But he didn't know anyone in Christchurch, really. So he had to make new friends. And I thought, I'm glad we've taught him that skill. I was suddenly glad that we'd brought him to church every Sunday, that was a priority, that was part of who he is, because now we're not taking him to church. It's up to him if he goes to church. It's up to him if he decides to connect in there and become part of a connect group and serve and pour out in his new church in Christchurch. It's important that we put these things in place, even though they seem so mundane. So many of those things, they were not important at the time. But long term, they're important skills for life. Don't ever underestimate doing the things of today well, because they're the foundations of tomorrow for doing more extraordinary things. And I'd like to say that I do confess there was some cramming that took place on the morning before he got on the flight. Because, as a mum, then you realise, actually, maybe I've missed a whole lot. I have 4 hours to teach him all these things I probably really stuffed up on. So we did do some cramming on quite a few things, but he's doing fine on the whole. No, he's doing great. He's doing great. Anyway, in the Bible, there's this woman called Esther. And Esther is known really well by this passage, and the passage is that she was made for such a time as this. When Nathan went down there, I was like, mate, you know what? You're going to be good, because you were made for such a time as this. You're made for this. He is made to be a journalist. That is who he is. That is what is coming out of his very being. But, for Esther, there were all these years. There were months, but there were also years before that of preparation to get her ready for that moment she had before the king. And we might not have moments before kings in our lives, but we will have moments in our lives. And it's so important that we are ready and prepared for when those doors come and open. I read this quote this week by John Wooden, who's a UCLA basketball coach. And he said, when opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. Isn't that good? When opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. Read the books now. Get around the people who are doing things really well in their life and say, I just want to learn from you. How did you do that? I want to get that good, really good at that thing now, because when the opportunity comes one day, you want to be ready for that thing before you. So let's be ones that prepare. The second point this morning is trust during the moments of uncertainty. In our todays, we have beautiful todays. We have the sitting on the beach moments of today. We have the drink a decaf coffee moment in our day. We have these great, beautiful moments in our day with friends and family. But we also have todays which come with heartache and that come with uncertainty. Perhaps it's when somebody close to us moves away, or maybe it's being made redundant from a job that you've been in for many, many years. We have these moments which are challenging, which are uncertain before us. And it's in those moments that we get to choose how we will respond. When we wake up each day, we don't know if today is one of those days where we have to figure out how we will respond within ourselves. Whether today is a day that we need to trust God on another whole level, whether today is the day when we need to remember that God is with us. This time last year, normally I speak on Mother's Day, and I'd had the dream I want to talk about seasons that we go through, moments in time that we go through, and I wanted to give out the hourglasses. But at that point of time in May last year, my heart wasn't being my friend at that point. Like, it wasn't behaving, not like emotionally. Well, emotionally I was probably a bit wrecked too, to be quite honest, but it wasn't emotionally, it was physically. Physically my heart wasn't doing so great, as many of you know, and I had a problem with my electrical system in my heart, and so I was struggling to walk upstairs without getting breathless, eat a meal without getting breathless, and it was getting really difficult. And so in June last year, I went in to have an operation, to have a pacemaker put in, to help my heart pump as it should. So anyway, I go in for the operation, and I'm sitting there beforehand, and I'd held it all together pretty well on the whole. And I had that morning anyway. It was only like 8 a.m. But anyway, so we get in there, and I'm sitting in the hospital room, and the anaesthetist walks in. And he's going through all the things, you know, you got to love all the questions and the answers. And anyway, I was suddenly, when I saw him, I was reminded of a year earlier, I'd had this procedure done where I'd been put out for it, and then I woke up halfway through it. Who knows, you don't want to wake up halfway through a medical procedure. But anyway, I woke up halfway through in so much pain, screaming, and I was like, oh, I can feel this. And they were like, give her more stuff. You know, it didn't work. So anyway, I just suddenly had this feeling like, I know I'm having a general anaesthetic, but like, can you just like put me under? Like, really put me under? Like, I don't want to wake up. Please don't let me wake up. I don't want to know what they're doing. I don't want to see what they're doing. I don't want to hear what they're doing. Just make me be asleep for like hours. I don't care. Just don't let me wake up. And so I'm like crying. And anyway, this anaesthetist, he gave me this pep talk, right? I've never really had many pep talks because I don't do stuff that I would need a pep talk for. I don't go skydiving, you know. Kind of boring. But anyway, so he gives me this pep talk, and he goes, listen, he said, look at it like this. You're about to go on a train. You're about to take a journey. And you can choose how you're going to be on the train. You can decide you can get on the train with your ticket, and you can get on there with all your luggage, and you can be worried about your luggage. Is your luggage going to get to your destination? You can be worried about, does the driver actually know what he's doing? Does the driver know how to get there? Is the train going to come off the tracks at some point? Are we going to get lost on the way there? Have I lost my ticket? He goes, no, you can get onto the train and you can think of those things. Or you can get on the train and you can sit back, put your luggage down, you can relax, and you can enjoy the scenery. You can have a cup of tea, because he goes, either way, you're still going to get to the same destination. You get to choose how you want to walk through this journey you're about to go on. Which I got. Like, I was like, oh, that's a very good example right there. That's very good. But inside, I was like, I don't know the train driver, right? Don't know it. Not been on this train before. New train, new situation. Didn't feel that reassured, to be honest. 4 months later, I'm back in the same hospital room because the operation hadn't gone so well. So I had to do the whole thing again. Second time round, you know what you're in for, which is kind of good, kind of not good. So I'm sitting there, but second time round is completely different to the first time round. Because second time round, I'm sitting there in the room beforehand, and the anaesthetist has come in. He's a different guy. That guy probably asked to be off duty that day. So it's like, that woman, you know, it even wrote, you know, quite tearful before procedure. It's an understatement. So anyway, different anaesthetist comes in. But it was different this time round because that time in the room, firstly, I had my own cardiologist who was going to be doing the procedure. My own cardiologist who I knew, I'd met several times over the last few years. We'd talked about it. And I knew if this procedure didn't go right, we'd end up with open heart surgery, which is not what you want. But I trusted him because I knew him. As well as that, I also had my lovely friend Helena right there next to me because she works in that area of the hospital. So she was there beforehand chatting to me. She walked with me down into theatre. She put big, hot, warm blankets on me. She stuck stickers and leads all over me. She plugged me into things. And she joked with me the whole time. And as I went under, she held my hand. And I didn't cry, and I didn't freak out, and I wasn't worried because I trusted the people who were looking after me that time around. And you know, we all have journeys that we take and situations we walk through, moments in life which aren't that easy. But there is someone in the driver's seat who does this journey every day with people. You know, we don't have to do these journeys alone. We have an amazing God who walks these journeys with someone every single day. He's like the train driver that knows where he's going. He's not going to get lost. He's not freaking out about what's happening in your life. He's been there before and he can take you through it. And we can trust him with our lives and with the destination and that we're going to get there. And you know, when we have a relationship with him, it makes it a lot easier to trust him when we're facing these different situations. The Bible talks about how in this life we will have trouble. And in our todays we will have trouble, but we aren't alone as we face our trouble. We must learn to trust in the valley and not be held back by fear, because fear is such a crippling thing. And if we let our minds go to the place of fear and worry and the what ifs and, oh, but last time, that's where things can begin to get a bit undone for us within. It's in the valleys of uncertainty that we learn that God is faithful and with us. You know, I always think, at least when we get to do these things again, we perhaps get to do them a bit better than last time, you know, and let's never waste an opportunity. You know, when I face different situations which are challenging, I just think, oh, well, God, teach me what you want to teach me. Like, I don't want to keep going around the mountain again and again. Let's learn this one and let's learn it really well so that I'm that much further along in my journey. So my third and last point this morning is make the moment while it's still today. You know, as you look at your hourglass, like this one, you might be focusing on the sand that's at the bottom. Like, there's a lot of sand at the bottom there, and actually there's none at the top, so we'll just turn that over. But maybe you're focusing at the sand at the bottom, you're like, wow, a lot of my sand's already passed through. A lot of my sand is already at the bottom. There's not much left at the top. Or maybe today you're looking at your hourglass of your life and you're looking and you're thinking, wow, you know what? Hey, I'm just at the beginning and heaps more sand to go through, not much to worry about. Que sera, it's all good. Look, I got all that time ahead of me. But the reality is in life, we never know how much time we've got left of the sand going through our hourglasses. You know, even in the different seasons that we have, we don't know how far the sand is through in the season that we are in our lives. Let's make the most of every grain of sand that drops down. There are people every day around you that you have the opportunity to influence. Tim Elmore, the founder of Growing Leaders, he estimates that even the most introverted individual will influence 10,000 other people in their lifetime. 10,000 other people. That's for the most introverted person. So many of you will influence like tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people. And as I read that, I just thought, I wonder in what way we're influencing people. Because we're influencing people whether we like it or not, but are we influencing them in a really good and positive way? Are we influencing them in love? Are we influencing them with grace and with forgiveness and with like joy? Are we influencing them with encouragement? Or are we influencing them in really negative ways? You know, are you the person that when you enter your workplace, everybody's really happy that you're there, or are they kind of like, don't make eye contact, avoid? You know, is your home a family, is that the atmosphere where people want to hang out? Is that where the kids want to come and bring their friends to? Or is it the place that like, oh no, don't go there, mum's a bit on edge, you know, she's a bit cranky this week, month? Yeah, we all have cranky moments, it's okay. But, you know, how are we influencing? How are we influencing our friends, our workmates, our colleagues, our family? We only have so long to influence the people who are around us in our lives. You know, the time for me to influence my friends at school left a long, long time ago, right? Been a long time since I was at school. The opportunities for me, you know, I remember when our kids were young and you'd go to playgrounds and you'd naturally just start talking to other parents there at playgrounds because you've all got kids running around and you're a bit bored, so you end up chatting to people. My days of connecting with people at playgrounds, they're well gone too, unless I steal someone's small child and go to a playground. But generally, I don't go to playgrounds anymore. I have offers, actually, from people offering their children to go to playgrounds. I understand. I too would have done that. But, you know, my time of being at the playgrounds, they're like gone. You know, but there's other moments, there's other seasons I'm in now where I'm connecting with people and I have opportunities with people. So What are the seasons that you're in, that you're able to connect with people and pour out in before those opportunities go? You know, those last few weeks when we had Nathan with us, we valued them far more than we had probably many, many years before that, because we were very aware that we only had him for so long with us. And we'd planned, Peter had always wanted to take our kids to Aussie on a family holiday, and for years he kept going, we're going to do it. Before Nathan leaves home, we're going to do it. And I was like, how are we going to do it? Anyway, we did it. We did that in January, and it was amazing. And we had the best time, and we laughed so much. We played card games at night, and, you know, we, sang and rocked out to crazy music in the car, and we did all these fun things, right? Went to these theme parks. It was amazing. But I tell you what, we made it amazing because we valued every moment. So I was like, you know what? In a couple of weeks, he's gone. No more breakfast times together. No more sitting around the dinner table to talk about our day. That's going to be a thing of the past. And so it made us value it. And I just want to say, value the moments you're in right now. And I know it's tough. I know when my kids were young, I was just like, I'm not valuing bedtime. I'm like, go to sleep. Stop talking to me. I don't care. Go to sleep, right? Because you're just so tired and you want to lie on the couch and you want a cup of tea, right? That's what you want in life. But honestly, they will grow up before your eyes. And now I sound like an older person, but really, the moments, they change really fast. If you're here and you're single, enjoy your single times. I know you're probably longing maybe not to be, but enjoy the time and the season that you're in. You don't have to worry about checking in with other people. Go and do these awesome, amazing, exciting things that you can do. Make the most of whatever season that you're in. Sometimes we're aware a season is about to end, but then other times we don't know that it's about to end. The season ends with somebody, or in that job, or in that situation. The season, it just finishes. Sometimes we don't know that it's about to end. So let's have those conversations, let's do those things that we want to do. You know, not only do we have only so many grains of sand to go through our hourglass within a season, but actually we only have so many grains of sand in our lives. And like an hourglass for our life, we only have so many sand pieces. And as I said, not to sound morbid, but as I said, a year ago, well, it was a few years ago, I found out there was something wrong with my heart. But it wasn't actually till I had my pacemaker put in that the reality of there is something wrong with my heart hit me. It was the first morning home, I woke up, it was 5 a.m, and I was in pain and I just was crying. I was like, I can't believe this. It's for real. There's actually something wrong. Before that I was like, they've just got this wrong. Seriously, they've mucked up the results, But I tell you, when something's wrong with your heart, it makes you count your days. Not in a really depressing way. It's not like I'm about to die, right? Because I have a pacemaker. But I'm not about to die, but it makes you go, I'm not invincible. You know what? The bad stuff that happens to other people, that bad stuff could happen to me. Truly. Not very spiritual. I haven't got much faith. No, trouble's going to happen, right? There's bad stuff in the world. Bad stuff happens sometimes. We don't know how many grains of sand we've got left in our days. But for me, what it made me do is just go, mate, I'm going to value every moment I have. I'm going to value being with my family. I'm going to value that I can go to church on a Sunday. I'm not going to miss church on a Sunday because I get to get up out of this bed, breathing, walking and living, and go to church. Some people don't get to do that. Some people, it's they're not well enough to do that anymore. But I'm still well enough. I'm healthy. I'm coming to church. There are things that I can do. I so appreciate my family. I so appreciate my church family here because you guys are amazing. And we get to do this life together. It's let's value what we have within our lives while we are here. And as we value the moments here on earth, even with the realization that one day the sand will stop going through our hourglass for one final time on earth, I want to tell you that there's also some great news. Because sometimes we think, well, that's it. That was life. It's all run out. That's it, kaput, done. No. There's really good news. That's not the end of the story, right? Because I've read this book. my book, which is my Bible, which is falling apart. My whole cover's come off. My whole cover's come off now. My whole cover, Mum, it's come off. I need Mum to fix my Bible. Anyway, but I've had it since I was a teenager, and it's highlighted. And I won't be able to find anything in the Bible if I change Bibles to a brand new Bible that looks all pristine inside, so I've got to keep my one. But anyway, I've read it, and there's good news. You know, at the beginning of the message, I read out of Ecclesiastes 3, and it talked about how there's a time and a season for everything. And in verse 11, it says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. You know, the thing is that we don't just have like an hourglass of our body here on earth. There's like this eternal hourglass for every one of us. There's like eternity. Whether you like it or not, there is eternity. There's more to come, which is good news. There's more to come, right? And we get like good, perfect bodies, no pacemakers, right? So it's going to be good. So there's going to be eternity. And in eternity, there's this hourglass. It just keeps going. It just keeps like runs out, flips over, runs out, just flips out. It just keeps going and going and going. And I love this verse because he says He has made everything beautiful in its time. And sometimes in life, things aren't beautiful. Sometimes in life, things are just really tough and hard work and rough. But at some point in time, it's going to look beautiful. And our lives are going to make sense, and it's going to just look so beautiful. And that's so encouraging. And sometimes that happens here on earth. Sometimes it might be on the other side, that things are going to look really beautiful. And things will be able to be understood a bit better. But not only that, then the verse says, He's also set eternity in the heart, in the human heart. He set eternity within us. You know, there is like this searching so often within our hearts because we're longing for more. It's like there's got to be more to this life, right? There's got to be more. You know, for me, I was like 7 years old, and I remember I'd heard in Bible in schools how you could pray anywhere and that God would hear you when you prayed. And so I went home that night, I was like, okay, God, well, if you're not too busy, will you please listen to me? And if you're not too busy, would you mind answering my prayer? And I prayed, and that prayer got answered. Within 24 hours, that prayer was answered. And it was amazing, and I just thought, okay, well, God's real. Like, there was just no doubt from there and on. Then it was just like, will someone please tell me about God, because He's real, so now what happens? So I just want to encourage you today that, you know, sometimes things don't make sense in the here and now, but it's okay because there's eternity coming. There's more coming, and things will look beautiful in time. If we could just all stand together, and if the band could come up. And we're just going to come in for a finish. So I just want to encourage us that as we go into our days and into our weeks, let's make the most of our days. Let's make the most of the moments that we have. Don't despise the day of small beginnings. Make the most of those days of preparation, because one day you're going to need the outworking of what that preparation has been setting you up for. Parents, put the preparation into your children. You will be so glad you did. We only have so much time. Make the most of that time that you have. And I just want to again just remind us all that, you know, we do have eternity before us. And today, whatever you're facing, you don't have to face it alone. That there is this amazing God who is there with us. And He walks with us. He is the driver in the driver's seat. And we don't need to fear where we're going because He knows exactly where we're going.